Good morning, Floss Tube. It's Julie with Reflections Framing and Stitching. Today is Saturday. It is the 27th of August, and this is Chart of the Week video number 140, which was supposed to happen last weekend. I brought my computer, I had everything ready, and took the computer out of my computer bag, and the cord was not there, and it had no juice. So I couldn't get it recorded, and I was just too busy the rest of the weekend, so I apologize. I know it's been a couple of weeks. We did record a video while I was with Connie. There were 6 of us, and we did record a video, so if you guys are interested, I can post that this weekend, and you can watch that. It's 2 hours long. We did kind of a question and answer thing. Some of them were cross-stitch related, some of them were not. We had a lot of time, or not time, we had a lot of fun. So I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. I don't want to, those of you who aren't interested, you don't need to hear it. So I think I'm going to just jump right into this week's Chart of the Week. Well, no, I'll answer the questions and comments from video number 139 first. So I want to thank y'all for your well wishes on my dermatology appointment. The spot on my arm, right there, under this Band-Aid, it was cancer, so I'm glad I went in. The good news is she got it all with the biopsy, so I don't have to go back for 6 months. And she didn't find anything else, so that's really good considering I was only 6 months old when I got my first sunburn. So, and I burnt myself several times over the years. I was a sun worshiper as a teenager, so I would expect I would have had more, but it was good that I didn't. So. And it was great that I don't have to go back and have any more taken out. Dan's is still healing, and he went like a month before I did. But he's diabetic, so he heals slower. Mine's almost healed. So I had a little issue. Yeah, you're supposed to keep a Band-Aid on it and keep it moist. And I was allergic to the adhesive on the Band-Aids. So while I was up in Stewart with Connie and the girls, my arm was on fire. So I ordered some Band-Aids that were supposed to be hypoallergenic and got those going. So it's much better now. But thank you anyway for the keeping me in your thoughts and prayers. Natalie asked about entering the state fair, and if I entered both Frederick and Frederica, even though I didn't have Frederica stitched. Had I had her stitched and entered both of them, whether it would count as 1 entry or 2. And that's going to depend on the categories that your fair has. I might have been able to enter it as 1. I'm pretty sure I could enter it as 2. There is a category for like a grouping. I don't know if 2 would qualify as a grouping. I would have to ask Lori. But it's all going to depend on what categories your fair has. I have a feeling we're going to lose categories because we had so few entries this year. I think Lori told me we were down something like 100 entries. So I'm pretty disappointed in that. Let's see. What else? Julie Tippy asked, or mentioned she was entering 7 pieces into her local fair. So yay, Julie. I'm glad you're participating and keeping, the whole point is not whether you win you earn a ribbon or you don't earn a ribbon. It's more to keep it out there and maybe expose other people to our craft who maybe aren't familiar with it. I had a couple come in the shop yesterday. They were picking up their animals from next door, and they came in, and the gentleman was looking at all the samples on the walls, and he said, "This is just amazing." He said, they're so pretty. He'd never experienced it before, so she didn't say a word, but he was chatty. So, you know, it's more to expose other people to our craft and maybe get others interested in it. So consider it for next year. I know I was a little lax on pushing it this year, and apparently I can't do that. So I'm going to start bugging everybody about it for next year. Start planning now. Look up your fairs, see what the categories are, and plan, you know. I didn't plan well. I could only put 4 in because I had 2 that I wanted to put 5, but 2 were in the same category, and you couldn't do that. So it'll keep for next year. I'll put it in next year, but start planning now. There's your reminder. Tina Jensen, she thinks I should do a shop tour. Tina, I'll consider it. I would want the shop to look its best, and right now it's not really looking its best. So, I mean, it looks good, but it doesn't. I would want to make sure everything was just so, and that I had all my displays, you know, freshened up, and right now it doesn't. But I'll think about it. Nevada Stitchers, I suggested I give up the serging in response to, you know, when I'm really, really busy. Couple of reasons I serge. I'm a framer who does not like tape residue on the things that she frames. Cannot stand tape residue. It gives me the willies, and it doesn't matter how well you wash that piece, you cannot get it out. So for me it's a self-serving sort of thing to serge, and I think people just prefer it. They absolutely love when I serge. So that's not going to be an option, but thank you for the suggestion. And I think that was pretty much all of the comments and questions. So let's move on to today's chart of the week, or chart of the day, or however you want to think about it. It is a day, but it's also the week. So chart of the week, we'll go with that. I don't think I've ever done one of, and this is, yeah, that's right, one of Chessie and Me's charts before. I like Chessie and Me. She doesn't seem to sell well. So I thought, well, maybe I'll feature it, and maybe you aren't aware of her, or you haven't considered it before for one reason or another. So I chose to have a friend. This came out at market in March. Looks like this. And you get the 3. There's another side to this. So it's a double-sided fob. There's a pin pillow and then a box top. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that this does include over 1 stitching. So for those who stitch on Aida, you'd have to figure out a different thing to do. And I've thought about it for you, so I have some suggestions, because it's a very cute chart. And there are things you could do if you want to stitch something that has over 1, but you can't stitch over 1 on Aida. So my first suggestion is this, like this little girl. She's over 1, the dog is over 1, and the words are over 1. So you could remove those. There on the back side of this, there is a pair of scissors. There is a crown motif. You could put the scissors and the crown in there. You could just put the crown in there. So there are things you could do there. You could put your initials in there. So you could leave those out. You might, I haven't looked for sure, but you might be able to do the dog over, you know, regular stitching on Aida, and he might fill that space up well. And for the words, I mean, you could, she does have it. Let me show you. I don't think I'm going to be giving anything away too bad if I'm careful here. She has the words and an entire alphabet charted. So you could put your friend's name, you know, from this alphabet where that whole saying is. The whole saying is, to have a friend, you must be a friend, which is very true. I have told Dan that. He always complains he doesn't have any friends, and I always say, well, you got to be one before you can have one. And he had one of his Teak brothers that would call him periodically to do things, and Dan either never called him back or didn't want to do it or whatever, and he finally quit calling. And I'm like, Tony wanted to be your friend and you blew him off. So you gotta be one in order to have one. But you could put your friend's name up there. You could just use the word friend. You could put some other saying on there or words that you like. You could just put a little bit of the alphabet in there. So there's a lot of things that you could do as a stitcher on Aida where you could still stitch this and have it work for you. So just wanted to point that out. Now back to the nuts and bolts of the thing. It calls for being stitched on 36 count Dolphin from Weeks Dye Works. There's different stitch counts for the different things. She also does give you diagrams for any specialty stitches. So, and her diagrams are good. I've done eyelets and I've done the long-armed cross stitch. Neither of those are difficult. I have never tried the nun stitch, but it doesn't really look too hard. And there's a Smyrna, which is really easy. So, but you can always use just a cross stitch usually. Usually just a cross stitch will work. So, is that everything I wanted to tell you about this chart before we get into the fabric part of the program? I've made one substitution on the floss. I don't happen to like a variegated floss for faces and skin tones, so I just use DMC 950 for that. That's my personal choice. You know, you might have a color that suits you better, and that's fine. You know, I'm kind of pale, so 950 works for me. So this is the Dolphin, which is a beautiful color. It's kind of a blue-gray, very dark. I love the color, and I love the floss on the color. Isn't that pretty? Don't you guys love that? Beautiful. We have a sports guy that always says the word beautiful when he's talking about something someone has done well in a sporting event. First Nebraska game happens today in Ireland. Dan's a little upset because the grandkids are arriving at 11 o'clock today, which is about the time that the football game starts. So he's going to have to record the football game because there's no way he can watch it and the kids at the same time. If you don't like dark colors, I'm moving on, if you can't tell. 32 count Boston would be a good choice. All the colors look good on that. It's a little lighter, so it's a little easier to see. It's 32 count, so if you don't stitch on 36, it would work. And for those of you who do stitch on Aida, Silver Fox from Fiber on a Whim would be a good option. And if you don't like an over dye, this is 36 count smoke blue. And it works just fine too. And I do have stitchers that come in to buy fabric, and they do not like the look of an over dyed fabric. So moving on, this is Boardwalk from Color and Cotton. It's a pretty pale green color, and it would look fine. I think it's a beautiful shade of green, not too intense. For those of you who don't like green, you might be able to handle that one. This is Oatmeal from Color and Cotton. This is another Aida. It's 18 count. And it's kind of a green. I think it's a pretty color also. And then for you, those of you who prefer a neutral, this is 28 count Tobias from Seraphim. All right, it's having some issues here. There. And everything looks good on that. And last but not least, this is Ween beans from Needle Bling. This is a 32 count. I think this is a beautiful color of fabric. Absolutely love it. And the colors look good on there too. See? So, what do you think? What's your favorite? Personally, I do like the called for the best, or one of the lighter blues. I think I like those the best, but I also like that Ween beans. Pretty good too, if I wanted a more neutral, because you know, blue. Okay, today's question, and you know, I forgot to look at what you answered on the last question. Crap, my bad. Huh, I don't usually forget to do that. I apologize. I don't remember what it is. Sorry. I'll try and remember to mention it in the next video. So today's question is, since it's Expo starting today, which I won't be able to get to it until, gosh, maybe after the kids, no, probably tomorrow. I probably won't be able to, since we've got the kids and I'm here by myself, so I probably won't get to ordering things until later. But since it is Expo, I was just kind of curious as to whether you had a favorite design that you saw in any of the previews on Instagram. There were a couple that I liked. If I'm going to be totally and completely honest, I didn't see a whole lot that I was dying to add to my stash. And that's where seeing the models in person can come in, because a lot of times I'll see a picture of something and I'll go, nah. And then I see it in person and I'm blown away. So I'm not a real huge fan of the Expo for that reason. I like to see things in person. And you all know that from ordering online, and something comes and it looks nothing like what you thought it was going to look like. So that's, I'm more of an in-person gal when it comes to like a market type thing. But there were a couple things. I liked Stacy Nash's deck, the Coupe. I like that one. And then Hello from Liz Matthews. She had a cloche. Was it autumn cloche? I think. And I thought that one was cute. It kind of reminded me of my, you can see my dome right back there. Oops, right there. My under the dome thing kind of reminded me of that, which I had another idea for that series while I was showering this morning. So I might have to think about charting it before I lose it out of my head. So that's my question. Do you have a favorite from Expo, and what is it? That's all the business side of things. Let me talk a little bit about my weekend away. Like I said, I do have a 2-hour video of us stitching and talking. If you guys are interested, I can go ahead and post that. We had a great time. We went to, there's an awesome, I think I've mentioned it before, an awesome gift shop in Atkinson, Nebraska, called Something Special by Marilyn. If you're ever up in that area, please stop by and check it out. It is a wonderful gift shop, and I spent way too much money. And in the 2-hour video, I did show you my favorite find from that, and all of the other. Everyone missed it. I missed it the first time. I always try and go through her store 3 times, because you miss things. There's just so much to see, and you kind of get blinders on, and you miss things. So everyone else was kind of done, and I'm still making my rounds, and I spotted what I spotted, and I was like, okay. And Connie was with me. I said, I got to have him. And she looks at the tag and she says, do you know how much he is? And I said, I don't care. He's coming home with me. So that's in that video. And I found lots of other good treasures while I was there. We took a little trip to an antique store on Saturday. And the rest of the time was spent stitching. I had mentioned I didn't do a whole lot of stitching after that weekend because of I had this itchy arm problem, and until I got the Band-Aids that I'm not allergic to, when I'd get home from work that week, I'd just take the Band-Aid off and just leave it open, but you had to have, you're supposed to keep it moist, so there was Vaseline or Neosporin ointment on it, and I didn't want to accidentally get any ointment on my stitching, so I didn't stitch until my Band-Aids came, which was, I'd been using just like once I figured out the Band-Aids weren't going to work, the original Band-Aids, I went to the store and got Coban and just non-stick pads. But after a day of wearing the Coban, it was irritating my skin. Apparently, I have really wussy skin. So I just needed it off in the evenings, and I didn't want to get stuff on my stitching. So I didn't stitch until the Band-Aids came. And then it's just been kind of a busy week, and I stayed up too late and too tired to stitch a couple of nights. So hopefully, there won't probably be any stitching tonight, maybe tomorrow. Like I said, we're going to have 2 of the grandkids. Reese and Hey are going to be there, and we've got 2 dogs staying with us. Alex and Emily are off visiting Emily's family, so we have King Louis and Princess Charlotte with us this weekend, and things are going okay there, but neither one of them wants to go out into the grass, which makes going to the bathroom a little difficult. So we're having to chase them out into the grass to get them to go to the bathroom. This morning, Louis stood on the cement at the end of the stairs and peed out into the grass. So he didn't have to go out into the grass. I don't know if it's because the grass is wet, because the sprinklers were doing their thing this morning. I don't know. But, yeah. So this weekend's going to be kind of busy with the kids and the dogs, and Charlotte is a beagle. We call her Charlie. She's a beagle, and she leaves those little short white hairs everywhere. So, and I'm allergic to it, which is why my eyes are a little squinty today, because they feel like there's sandpaper in them. So I got to vacuum every day and get all that stuff up off the floor. So it's just going to be, and I'm working on retreat stuff, so it's going to be kind of a busy weekend. So, but let's see, what else did I need to talk to you about? Expo. I already mentioned Expo. Hopefully you saw some things you liked and placed your orders with your LNS. And yeah, that's about all I have. It's about time for the shop to open up, so I'm gonna stick a fork in it and call it done. Let me know in the comments if you want me to post that video or not. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I want to thank everyone for all of your previous comments. I do appreciate them, and I do read them all. And every once in a while I even respond. But a lot of times I'm doing two things while I'm reading and doing something else, and I just don't take the time to respond that way. So my apologies for that. I think that's all I have. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Get lots of stitching done, so someone's got to be stitching. And I will see you hopefully next Saturday or Sunday or Monday. Sometimes it doesn't happen on Saturday, but it happens on Sunday and Monday. So I will see you next week at some point, if not before, in that other video. How's that sound? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.